Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. So the Celebration of Lliira event is pretty much over. Well, within the event you could get these bells, the Bell of Celerity and the Bell of Empowerment, both giving boosts to your companion in different ways. I want to discuss should you be using them, how effective are they? They since got some updates with the Empowerment one giving now 30% damage rather than 20, and the Celerity just reducing your companion's cooldowns by 10 seconds instead of giving them like 20% recharge speed. That's a pretty significant boost on both of those. They are belt items, so they'll go on your tray just here. You have 3 slots, and yeah, you can use both of those bells if you wish, along with a Spider Totem, Forger's Box, even Health Stone, any of those other belt items. However, let's discuss the practicality of them and in what situation are they any good, and ultimately would I be using one moving forward. Keep in mind, if you didn't grab them during the event, then you can of course just buy them here. I'm actually not sure why there's very few in the auction house, but that's how it is. Potentially people have them stored up. I would have recommended you purchase some and save them to sell, like I showed you at the beginning of this event. All those items you can go and resell if you wish. So first of all, let's cover the Bell of Empowerment, just boosting your companion's damage by 30%. It works great. You're going to go cast the bell, you just hit the key that's linked to it, and you can see your companion gains the buff. And it lasts 30 seconds. Now, the tooltip on these bells is that they have a 2-minute cooldown. That 2-minute cooldown is actually affected by your recharge speed, interestingly enough. So, okay, right now we're only at like 8%, so we're gonna like reduce the cooldown time by like 10 seconds. But if you get this up to like 30, 40, 50%, you're gonna reduce that cooldown speed to just like 80 seconds. So it's gonna be like a minute and 20 seconds, and you'll be able to use the bell again, which means it actually has pretty decent uptime. And with it having 30 seconds duration, that means you can probably get the uptime to be about nearly 40%. Now the damage boost does work, and we have tested that, and it does turn out to be a true multiplicative 30% damage boost for your companion. So very effective. But we also did go on to check with, say, Xuna and the buffer artifact to simulate artifact calls, and we have Xuna here like 156,000 DPS, and then with the 30% bell she goes to like 183,000 DPS. So it works pretty well. And ultimately, should you use it then instead of the Celerity bell? Well, that actually varies a lot. It depends what content you're running, depends what companion you're using, and ultimately if you're using artifact calls, then the Celerity bell becomes pretty useful. The problem is you kind of want to have a look at what your companion's doing and pay attention to what abilities they're using, and then cast this bell at the correct time. For example, this Earl the Chicken Master has the ability of basically being one of the best at just dealing a ton of damage in one hit with that one foul swoop, which means you could cast the bell after he uses that power, and then a few seconds later he's going to use it again because the cooldown is 14 seconds and you're reducing it by 10 seconds here, allowing the companion to actually recast it back to back pretty quickly. You see here, he throws his seeds, that's when the chicken's going to come in, and we can ring the Celerity bell, and then a little bit later he's going to go and throw those seeds again, and the chicken comes in and deals the damage. I don't know why they got rid of the animation of the chicken charging in, but they seem to have done so. But it still deals an absolute ton of damage in one hit. And if you get that buffed up with an artifact call, it's going to be doing like 4 times the amount of damage than you'll get on your character just here against a dummy. That makes this bell super good if you can time it properly and are using a companion that can take advantage of that, like Earl the Chicken Master. But ultimately, even with that, I'm going to doubt that it's much better than, say, just using the Bell of Empowerment. And of course, you will want to use like your owlbear figurine or Dragonfire as your other belt item. And then the third one, you generally want to have like a Stone of Health. It's pretty important to have one of these in order to give you that ability to instantly heal yourself, because otherwise you might find yourself dying a bit too often. The healer cannot always be there to save you when you need, and dying and reviving, even if you use a scroll, is a bad thing, because you will reduce all your damage by multiplicative 10%. So it's always going to be a true 10%, but you can of course reduce that down to 5% with this revive sickness, but that would just mean it's going to negate any effect you could gain from any belt item. You're just far better off not dying. Of course, if you get super good or you're running super easy content, be my guest. Run multiple of these. Use your damage belt item like Dragonfire or the Owlbear, and then use a bell, and then use a stat boost. The stat boost generally adds up if we look at, say, Spider Totem at 2.5% stats and 1% damage against Drow. That's a 1.87% damage increase. And if we take out the 1% damage against Drow, that goes to like a 1.23% damage increase. And that's nice and reliable. You're going to have that effect unless you die, of course. And then if you look on the other side, reducing your companion's cooldown or increasing its damage will also only result in like about 1.5% to 2% depending on your companion. So it can be a bit better than stats from, again, Forger's Box or Spider's Totem. Just the stats are going to be a little bit more reliable, going to make your character look a bit better, and you can focus the damage where you want it to be. But ultimately, which bell would you choose? Because again, I wouldn't really ditch the Stone of Health, and then I would not at all ditch the Owlbear figurine. That's massive 1000 item level, huge for artifact calls, and then Dragonfire, very good for multi-target damage, but you could have a bell there instead if you have a highly effective multi-target companion, which is like Regis from this Companion of the Hall bundle, just released now. The cooldown on his big hit ability is 12 seconds, which means we should be able to enter combat here. The companion uses Whirlwind of Blades. We should be able to ring the bell then, and should be able to do Whirlwind of Blades again. And there you go. So you could be able to get 2 abilities off in a mob group versus like only 1. So that's where it can be highly effective. However, in single target boss fights, I would always tend towards just using the Bell of Empowerment. Far more reliable. You don't have to worry about what your companion's doing, and getting the precise timing should be a lot easier. And just make sure to cast it during the artifact call when you have all the debuffs and vulnerabilities on the target, and your companion will be boosted significantly during that time window. Versus again the Celerity Bell, like we said, to get the 2 hits. It's so easy to just mess up the timing with it. Like here you have to be very exact. You have to watch what the dude's doing. When the attack hits, you ring the bell, and then you should be able to cast that again within a matter of seconds. There we go, and you get your second big hit. There's potential there for it to work super well. It's just, yeah, I mean, you're in a 10-man trial. Good luck spotting which companion's yours, especially in the heat of battle where you need to maximize your own damage in that artifact call. So unless you want to be monitoring exactly what your companion's doing all the time and when is the exact opportune time to cast this, I would just recommend going with the Bell of Empowerment. It's a decent replacement to the Spider Totem and the Forger's Box, which are going to give you very minimal damage gains. But of course, it is reliant on you having a pretty decent striker companion. So if you're very new, can't get one of these good ones, don't have a good companion enchantment here, don't have Warlord's Insignia bonuses, then potentially just use stat boosts. Just use Spider Totem or Empowered Forger's Box, and you'll be good to go. However, there is one situation in favor of the Bell of Celerity, and it involves this one companion, the Spine Devil. He's super good to provide a damage boost to your team with his ability of Impaling Fork, which causes the target to be vulnerable, giving a 10% damage debuff to them. So anybody who deals damage to the target will deal 10% more damage to the target. The issue, the only problem with this companion, is it doesn't have 100% uptime. This bell will allow you to reduce that cooldown and have a more consistent uptime, along with being able to cause him to apply that condition much sooner when you enter the fight. So it can be very useful here in order to just always give that boost to your team. I would recommend healers or tanks who can afford to run this companion, have it available, to also use the bell with it. Just use it pretty much just before the artifact call, like 5 seconds before, and that way you can be more assured that the companion is actually going to have this debuff for that artifact call, where it can be particularly important, giving everybody that bonus damage against the target during that burst window. So both bells have uses, and my ultimate takeaway here is go with the Bell of Empowerment if you already have maxed out stats or don't yet have the Spider Totem or Forger's Box. It is a very good solid boost to your companion, and it will help overall, of course, as long as you have a decent striker companion. So thanks for watching. A massive thank you to all these channel members for your added support, and we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.